to Inner Peace Better Health, where true healing begins from within. I'm your host, Saima, and today's guest is Anna Quigley, transitional coach, founder of the Journey to Purpose and the Intuition Zone, and a passionate guide for midlife women ready to step into the life they truly desire. Anna blends neuroscience, spirituality, and soul wisdom to show how trusting our divine GPS, our intuition, can lead us to healing, clarity, and a life filled with purpose. Tonight, we explore how tuning in can be more powerful than any external device. So, Anna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're warmly welcome. So, Anna, let's talk about intuition as a divine GPS. How do you define intuition, and why do you believe it's so essential for healing and life transitions?
Intuition is something that we are born with. I've talked to people that say, "Oh, I don't have intuition," but I use the example of the GPS in our car. That generally comes as standard equipment, and so does our intuition. It's built into us and it's available to all of us to use. So I consider it a divine gift. It comes with our life and it comes to enhance our life. It's such an extraordinary tool, and it's always guiding us to our highest and best situation and circumstances, even though we don't always get to know why. I like to think of it too as our God positioning system, our GPS, our internal GPS. And like the GPS in our car, all we have to do is be clear on what our destination is. Where do we want to go? What's the end result that we want? And like the car's GPS, we've learned to trust that it's going to take us to that destination. We don't have to tell it how to do it. We don't have to give it specific instructions as to what street to take or what turn to take. We've learned and we trust now that it's just going to get us there. Maybe a different route, but it will do that. And that's also possible with our divine GPS, our internal guidance, our intuition. It's not necessary to try and control all of it, but when we become truly clear on what our purpose is or on wanting to even find our purpose, and we trust and surrender, let go, circumstances and events and opportunities will rise up to help us reach that destination. It's pretty amazing and wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree. So, was there a time when trusting your intuition led you down an unexpected but beautiful path?
Oh, absolutely. I was living in my dream, really, in San Francisco, California. And I had a wonderful job, great friends, a beautiful home. Everything was as I desired. And within a couple of months, it seems my entire life started falling apart. I was laid off from my job due to industry changes, ended up in a not a legal situation with the person that I co-owned my building with. And this beautiful, perfect life that I had just started unraveling. I had to go deep into my intuition. I really had to take some breath, do some meditating, and tap into the intuition to see what is going on. Where am I being led? What's happening? And I'll share, this was interesting because I've studied a lot and done a lot of meditation and spiritual mind work. And the first thing that came to my mind for gaining clarity, I said, I want to go to a mountaintop and meditate. Within 2 days, my cousin called and invited me to an ashram in India. And it happened to be on top of a mountain. So that was a pretty good sign that I was going in the right direction to a place that would allow me to find clarity. And that's exactly what happened. I had a wonderful trip to India, and I came home with the clarity, not of the entire path in front of me. That rarely happens. But I did come home knowing it was time for me to move, to change locations. And I did that. I took a giant leap of faith and I sold my house and I moved north. I moved up to Washington State. And once there, again, I was presented with a what do I do? I followed my faith, I followed my intuition, my guidance, but I need a job. I need to know what's next for me. Again, I tapped into my intuition and got clarity on my next job. It ended up being one of the most wonderful and rewarding um, opportunities that I've ever had. I started a business from there and was able to keep that going very successfully for about 8 years. So it wasn't planned. And had things stayed the same as they were when I was living in San Francisco, I never would have had that opportunity. I never would have had that experience. So I'm extraordinarily grateful. I'm divinely grateful for that guidance and that intuition that took me to that new opportunity.
You know that clarity that intuition often knows before logic catches up is so affirming, right?
Absolutely. And that's where I think it's divine guidance. I believe we come in with some sort of a plan into this life for our lives, what we need to learn to grow, how we need to grow spiritually. And intuition kind of guides us in those areas and helps us with changes. It's so easy to get comfortable in our lives and not want to step into the next part of our lives. And in my business, I work with people in midlife, women particularly, who, probably spent most of their life taking care of the family or doing a job and feel an inkling like there's something more, but really aren't clear on what it is or even how to get there. And that's one of the gifts. I've done this actually now 3 times in my life. So I am able to help with not only my understanding and my training of meditation and mind body techniques, my understanding of intuition and how it can help. And it's my passion now to focus on helping others find that next step, that inner calling, and create the life that's authentic and the life that moves them forward to their next step.
You blend neuroscience with spirituality in your work, right? So,
Absolutely.
how does understanding the brain help deepen our trust and intrusive wisdom?
When we understand how intuition speaks to us, I think it gives us more confidence in what's going on. I've learned in my research, and I'm not a scientist, but I love understanding the how and the why. And what I learned is that we receive about 11 million pieces of information every second. And one thing that surprised me when I was doing this research is that only about 1% of it is picked up in our brain. The rest, that 99%, is picked up in our senses. And this really starts to make sense when we learn to realize that our intuition is speaking to us through our senses, that inner knowing, that little quiet whisper that sometimes tells you to, you know, go to this particular location instead of something that you had planned. Maybe you run into someone that you've been wanting to talk to. It's the gut feeling, those butterflies or the chills that we get when something's really good. We know it's a confirmation of something right. And for me, understanding that there's scientific evidence and reason for this. So our heart alone, well, our heart and our our gut are the two areas that are most responsible for taking these signals, this information that we get regularly, and processing it, bundling it all up and sending it up to the part of our brain that is most responsible for our emotions and our cognitive functions, and that's the amygdala. So we really have scientific evidence that that's what's going on, that this is our mind and our body doing what they do, working together. Even in psychology, they've created a concept they call thin slicing. I don't know why that, but it's documenting also how and that we're able to make accurate judgments and decisions without being able to explain how we came up with it. It's again kind of that inner knowing. The other thing that I've learned in my research is that these intuitive impulses are much easier to listen to hear if we're in a more relaxed mode. So, mindfulness, meditation, journaling, taking a walk in nature, or even taking a bath has been documented as being an opportunity and an easier way for intuition to speak to us. Our rational mind is our guide. It keeps us organized. It helps us function through the day. But the intuition is our creative. Those are those insights and those aha moments. And quite often the things that add the creative side to projects and things that we're working on. So for me, understanding that there is scientific support to why and how intuition works makes it easier to trust. And the more you practice and the more you pay attention to listening to intuition, the easier it becomes. It's almost like listening or answering the phone when a friend calls. You don't have to ask them who they are. You already know. You learn to recognize that intuitive voice, however it comes. A quiet whisper in kind of that inner ear, or maybe it's seeing repetitive visual cues. It can be that way as well. The easiest, I think the most familiar that we all are is that gut feeling, the butterflies in the stomach or that excitement that we feel when something's really positive. So it's pretty amazing, and I think it makes it so much easier to trust and learn to pay attention more to our intuition.
Mhm. And that bridge that science and spirit can dance together is such a refreshing perspective.
I think that's the ideal is when we let the rational mind that's really the implementer play with our creator, the intuitive mind. That's kind of what happens when you move from just an idea to an invention. I think of the intuitive mind or intuition kind of as that secret sauce, that something special that takes our normal life, our day-to-day, our basic thoughts and elevates it to something more special. So yes, I think the more we allow them to work together and enhance each other, the better our life flows, the easier it becomes. One of the things that's interesting is that we don't always know why intuition is guiding us in one direction or another until we don't listen to it. And I had that situation, if I can share a story on myself, and I know the voice of my intuition. I've been studying this for so many years, but it doesn't mean I always listen to it. I'm too human still. And I was driving home one day not too long ago and wanted to take a particular route. And my intuition told me to get on the freeway. It's the last thing I wanted to do. And I'm like, what? No, I don't want to do that. I want to take this windy road that took me home. It's more peaceful and I was feeling very relaxed. So I ignored it. And a couple of blocks later, literally that inner voice said, turn around and take the freeway. Well, it kind of startled me, and my rational mind really kicked into gear. And it's like, no, we had a plan. This is how you're going to go. You're going to take the relaxed road. And okay, my rational mind, which sometimes can be a little bit of a bully, but my rational mind took over and I ignored my intuition for a second time. Well, not too long after that, I ran into major road construction and I was delayed getting home probably a half an hour. I had to laugh because I know better and I know that voice, and yet I still ignored it. But it was such a good reminder that we don't always get to know. Actually, quite often, we don't get to know why intuition has told us to turn left or drive here or go there until we don't pay attention to it. I could have listened to my intuition and taken the freeway and been home a little bit sooner. It probably wouldn't have been any event or any situation that was negative. But because I didn't listen to it, I got to learn firsthand what intuition was protecting me from in a way, what it was guiding me past, making my life a little bit smoother, my road home definitely easier. It was a good lesson and a good reminder.
That completely makes sense, Anna. Now, for someone listening, lost or disconnected from the path, what first step would you invite them to take toward activating the divine GPS?
Allowing themselves to get into less stressful environment, getting into nature, even just taking a walk around your neighborhood. Inventions have been created by people taking a bath. You know, you can in the shower, you're kind of relaxed in your rational mind. You're not usually planning the day, and we often get insights that way. But I suggest if people are really getting to know their intuition and how these signals come through them to them, that they start tracking. And I offer a tracking sheet on my website. And make a note when you get these intuitive impulses. How did it come? Was it a repetitive visual image, or did you have a gut feeling? Was it that little quiet voice, or sometimes it's a loud one protecting us? How did it come? And what happened? Did anything happen? And if you didn't listen to it, did you get stuck in traffic like I did? The more you do that, listening to intuition's a skill. And like any skill, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes to learn to listen to. So that would be the first step. And let yourself spend time in nature. Journaling is good, meditation certainly. And learn to pay attention to your dreams, because who hasn't woken up in the morning with an idea or a solution to a problem or a situation that they've needed help with? And that's because the rational mind was quieted down and our intuitive mind was able to be heard.
Hmm. That's going to surely be beneficial for all our listeners. Anna, you reminded us that the answers we seek are not outside, they are already inside us, waiting patiently for us to listen. Healing begins when we trust that quiet, persistent voice within. So, all our listeners, here's your spark. Pause, listen, trust the whisper. Your divine GPS is already guiding you.